Claude Code can now read and write to local file systems. You can point it at your Obsidian Vault, and suddenly you have an AI that knows everything you've ever written. Noah Breyer runs it on a home server and connects via VPN from his phone. Bloggers have documented elaborate systems involving personal constitutions stored in Claude.md files and automatically generated maps of content. I've read post after post saying broadly the same thing. Finally, a tool powerful enough to organize the chaos. Finally, something that can parse the 1,500 notes you've accumulated, find the connections you've missed, catch you up after days away from your research. Finally, a second brain worthy of the name. And I get it, I do. But I am here to tell you, with all the gentleness I can muster, that if you couldn't fix your life before Claude Code existed, Claude Code is not going to fix it now. Every few years, a new tool launches that promises to solve the fundamental problem of being a disorganized person with too many ideas and not enough follow-through. The Getting Things Done revolution of the early 2000s spawned an entire ecosystem of apps and methodologies. Evernote was going to be the external hard drive for your mind. Roam Research would finally let you think in graphs instead of hierarchies. Notion would be the all-in-one workspace that replaced everything else. Obsidian, and yes, I love and use Obsidian, so lump me in there, would give you local first ownership of your knowledge base. Each of these tools attracted devoted communities who spent enormous amounts of time documenting their setups and workflows. They created YouTube videos and blog posts and paid courses explaining how to properly configure the tool that would, at last, unlock your potential. And what happened? The people who were productive before these tools existed remained productive. The people who struggled with focus and follow-through continued to struggle, just now with fancier infrastructure around their struggles. Samuel Johnson wrote a dictionary, arguably the first dictionary, and he did not need a Zettelkasten. We spend so much time building and maintaining the systems that we rarely do the actual work the system was supposed to enable. I read one blogger who described using a to-do new.md file as a command center that Claude populates every morning by scanning the vault and identifying priorities. Another uses Claude to automatically generate maps of content whenever the Obsidian Vault gets messy. A GitHub repository catalogs prompts for using the command line tool to perform personal retrospectives by analyzing weekly logs. Notice what all these use cases have in common. They're meta work. Work about work. Organization about organization. The person using Claude to analyze their weekly logs for productivity leaks has found a sophisticated new way to avoid doing the thing in favor of doing the things about the thing. This is not new, and it's not always bad. Umberto Eco observed that collecting books you haven't read is actually useful because an unread library represents the vastness of what you don't know. But there is a difference between Eco's anti-library and a digital hoard of 1,500 notes that you've never synthesized into actual thought. The former is a monument to intellectual humility, and the latter is a monument to productive feeling procrastination. Look, tools do matter. A carpenter with a power saw can build things that would take forever with a handsaw. A writer with a word processor can revise more freely than when working on a typewriter. The question is whether the bottleneck you're experiencing is actually a tool problem or a you problem. If you're a working writer who produces consistent output but wishes you could more easily find connections between your past work, an AI that can search your archive might genuinely help. If you're a researcher drowning in sources and you need help organizing them, sure, point Claude at the folder. But if your fundamental issue is that you have thousands of notes and you haven't turned them into anything, if you keep accumulating inputs without producing outputs, if you're perpetually getting organized but never actually being organized, the problem isn't that you lack a sufficiently powerful tool. The problem is likely you. And I say this with compassion as someone who has personally owned accounts on Evernote, Notion, Roam, Obsidian, and probably 3 other note-taking apps I've forgotten about. 9 out of 10 productivity tools rest on the premise that the right system will make you into a different person. But it won't. You'll still be you. I'll still be me, just with more elaborate scaffolding around our existing patterns. The productivity bloggers and the second brain enthusiasts will keep documenting their elaborate setups, because that documentation is itself a form of content creation that provides satisfaction without requiring the scary work of making things that might fail. A YouTube video about your Obsidian system gets views. The novel you're supposedly organizing research for might get rejected. The people who actually produce things, real things, have boringly simple systems. They write in whatever text editor came with their computer. They keep to-do lists on paper. They sit down and do the work, even when they don't feel like it, especially when they don't feel like it. You already know what you need to do. You've always known. No tool is going to do it for you, no matter how intelligent it becomes.